This lecture video will cover dimensional analysis. Please read the OER textbook chapter 1.5 for more details, and the homework that associated with this would be homework chapter 1.5. Dimensional analysis is going to be the process that involved with unit cancellation. Is allow you to cancel the unit in order to obtain the desired or proper unit. Okay, so it's involved with this strategy right here. Okay, so I'm going to pretty much walk you through how to find given information, how to figure out which one is the desired unit, and then we are going to plan it out in order to achieve to pretty much the final answer or the proper unit. Okay. When you use dimensional analysis in unit conversion, this is the form that I would like you to follow. Okay, so I would like you to follow the factor level form, which is what I'm going to show you. Okay, so when you answer your problem on the exam or with the homework that involved with the calculation that involved with the unit conversion, you need to give me this form. Okay, so this form is going to show in a fractional form. Okay, so for example, if you are given a unit, right, if you want to convert this unit to another, you need to find information that will allow you to do that. Okay, so that information need to be written out as the fractional form like this. Okay, so the given unit would be on the bottom, and whatever that you want, whatever that unit would be should be on top. Okay, so in this case, you can cancel those given units, and note that the information that is giving you that contain two units that contain both given and desired unit. This is what we call conversion factor. Okay, you can set it up as having one on the bottom as well as a placeholder, so that way you know that, oh, this is going to be divided by 1, right? So that way you know that the top number you are going to multiply everything together, and the bottom number, those are what you need to divide, right? So just note that. You can also write as this as well, just like a long line, right? So you can set that up. So all of these are going to represent the same thing. It's represent the factor leveling form. Okay, so it's include each different unit. Okay, so you need to include unit when you show me work. What do you mean by that? Okay, so it's easier when you put it together in example. But before we get to the example, okay, so let's take a look at the conversion factor first. So here's the list of conversion factors. Okay, so conversion factor, as I mentioned before, is going to contain 2 units, right? So for example, when you talk about length, right, so this can be any of these units, right? So inch to centimeter, right, contain 2 different units that describe length the same, right? So same thing here, foot to inch, right? So 2 different units but describe the same length, and so on. Okay, so these are going to be the one. So please note that for this list of length right here, you probably notice that it's actually going from the metrics, right, to the English unit, right? So sometimes the English unit to English unit, right? So sometimes the English unit to metric, right? So that means in this case, this table right here probably tell you about how to convert from the English unit to metric, vice versa. So the next one is volume. So same thing here, right? So it's contain 2 different units that describe volume, right? So just note that there is a typo here. So this one should be FT and then superscript 3, right? So it would be cubic feet. Right? So make sure that you can you change that. The last one is the mass, right? So these are the conversion for the mass, right? From pound to grams, kilograms to pound, and so on. You need to be able to use these in order to convert from one unit to another. Okay, so just again, know that this table right here, most of the time you are going to use when you have to deal with going from metrics or the SI unit to English unit, vice versa. This list right here that I square in red, so this one is going to be the one that you are going to carry on with you in this term to the next. It's going to be something that you have to know because you're going to use the most often. You're going to eventually know that by the end of the term. Another measurement that I want you to know is the time, right? So you need to know that every 60 seconds equal to 1 minute, and 60 minutes equal to 1 hour, 24 hours equal to 1 day, right? And 7 days equal to 1 week, right? And 4 weeks equal to 1 month, and then 12 months equal to 1 year, right? So you need to know this list as well. All right, let's put this together as an example. Okay, so let's take a look at example 1. Okay, so example 1 asks you to convert from millimeter to feet. You probably notice that this is English unit. This is the metric unit, right? Because it's involved with the meter. So therefore, in this case, you're probably going to use the table that we see earlier here. Okay, so you probably notice that the one that we're looking at here is described length, right? Feet and meter described length. So I'm going to look on this side of the table. So which one that contains feet and also millimeter? Okay, so this one contains feet. Oh, this one contains feet also. But note that the first one right here, this one you probably have to go from feet to inch, right? And then use inch to centimeter. Oh, you probably noticed that the same one, centimeter and millimeter, they have the connection with the meter, right? So that means that would be one route that we can. So that means in this case, the first route that we can take would be, right? So it's need to connect with this, right? In order to go to feet. So that means the first route would be, it's giving us millimeter. So therefore, in order to go to centimeter here, you might have to go through the base unit. Right, so because the list of the prefix multiplier that we went over earlier is based on the base unit. Okay, so after that, because centimeter connected to inch, so therefore you go with inch, and inch connected to feet, so therefore you are going to go to feet. So that would be your final answer. Or the second route that we can take would be, oh, this one contains feet, this one contains meter. Oh, meter and millimeter, they have the same base unit. Therefore, the second route that you can take would be going from millimeter, right, to meter, and use that meter conversion with to feet, right? So you get feet right away. So either way, they are going to give you the identical answer. Okay, so either way, if you set up correctly, it's going to be the same answer. Okay, so I'm going to show you both ways. So now let's set it up. Okay, so I'm going to show you the first route that we planned out first. Okay, so I'm going to start with what's given, which is 5, 6, 3, 0. Okay, so let's put the dot right here. So just to remind us that there are 4 signific. Okay, so I'm going to start with the given unit, which is millimeter. Okay. So in this case, we are going to set this up in a fractional form or the factor labeling form, right? To tell how the unit can cancel. Okay, so you need to set up in this form only on the exam because I need to be able to follow your work and see which unit that cancel each other out. Okay, so don't give me any other form. Okay, so this one right here, because I want to cancel the millimeters have to be on the bottom. And because I want to convert this into the base unit, which is meter, so meter would be on top. And because I want to use centimeter, so therefore I'm going to get centimeter eventually, which is have to be on the top, right? So and I'm going to get rid of meter, so meter going to be on the bottom. So don't add any number yet. Okay, so I'm just gonna write this out as a plan, right? So because our plan earlier go from millimeter, right, to meter, to centimeter, to inch, right, and then to feet, right? So therefore, in this case, I'm going to go. The next step would be go to inch. So that means centimeter would be on the bottom, inch would be on top, and then lastly, our inch would be on the bottom, and feet should be on top, right? So that would be how we plan this out. Note that when you set it up, at the end, you need to make sure that all of these units need to cancel out, and your final answer or the final unit have to be on top. Okay, so it have to be part of the numerator. Okay, so to set this up correctly, again, your final unit or your desired unit must be on top, or which is the part of the numerator. Okay, so if it's on the bottom, that means you got a inverse form of it. Okay, so you have to actually flip everything. I'm going to go over that later. Okay, so in this case, after you know this, then the next step would be easy now. So the next step would be think about what would be the conversion for each of these, right? So if you go back into the list here, you probably notice that the list here do not contain the prefix multiplier. It contains only the conversion between the English unit and the metric or SI unit. So that means in this case, this part right here need to come from the prefix multiplier that you learned previously, right? So we have millimeter and meter. We know that 1,000 of the millimeter equal to 1 meter. So I'm going to add that in. Remember, this one is a smaller unit. So there should be a lot of them, right? Compared to a bigger unit, right? So this number right here should be larger than this number because this is the smaller unit. That is the bigger unit. Vice versa, if you're looking at this, right? So centimeter per meter, right? So we know that there are 100 centimeter because this is a smaller unit in 1 meter. Another conversion that you can use, which is going to give you identical answer also, would be if you do 0.001 meter over 1 millimeter, it should give you identical answer as it would be the same as centimeter and meter as well, right? So in this case, we know that every 1 centimeter going to be 0.01 meter. You can use either one of these. You can use either one of these. Okay, so it's going to give you identical answer. Now between inch and centimeter, right? So this one is going to come from the list of the conversion factor between English and metric unit, right? So in this case, we know that 2.54 centimeter equal to 1 inch, and we know that 12 inch equal to 1 feet, right? So if you do this correctly, you are going to end up getting the number 18.4711 feet. Remember, this is measurement, so it's going to come with the uncertainty. So that means you need to report with the correct sig fig. So if you're looking at sig fig, we have 4 sig fig here. Okay, these are the defined number, right? So we define these are the exact value. So of these, none of these would limit your final answer. Okay, so this is exact number. Exact because we define them. Okay, so similar to what we went over before. Okay, so these are the exact value. So therefore, in this case, your final answer are going to be limited by the 4 sig fig, right? So we are going to cut it right here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4 for sig fig. So therefore, final answer will equal to 18.47 because 1 after 7 is you round it down, right? So this would be your final answer right here. Next, we are going to take a look at second route, okay, so which is going from millimeter to meter to feet, right? So in this case, we are going to use the same thing, right? So given value, so 5630 millimeter, convert this to meter, so it's going to be the same. So 1000 millimeter equal to 1 meter, and then we are going to look up meter to feet, right? So if you look this up, meter to feet is 3.28 feet. 3.28 feet is equal to 1 meter. And again, if you check your final answer, you probably notice that the feet now is on top. That's exactly what we want, right? It has to be part of the numerator. So therefore, if you do this, you are going to get 18.47 also. Okay, so it's going to give you identical answer. You might ask me, hey, why do you show me both route? Why don't I just go with the shorter route? Well, the reason because depend on what are the given information. Okay, so if it's giving just information like on top, then you have to use just the top part. Right? If it's giving you meter to feet right away, then you are going to use that. Right? So it just depends on what are the given information. So when you go back to page 16 real quick, okay, so those conversion factor that contain the word exact, those are going to be the one that is going to not limit number of sig fig in your final answer, and also include the prefix multiplier as well, right? So the conversion of the prefix multiplier. Okay, so those are going to be the exact conversion. Okay, so they do not limit number of sig fig in your final answer. All right, let's take a look at example 2. Okay, so in this example, is giving us the unit involved with different prefix, right? So these two contain the same base unit, which are meters, and they both have different prefix. One is centi, right? The other is kilometer or kilo. So whenever you have to deal with the units that contain different prefix, but they have the same base unit, I want you to always convert them to the base unit first before you go to the next. What do we mean by that, right? So for example, if it's giving you kilometer, before you go to centimeter, you need to convert to meter first. Okay, so always. Okay, so I want you to do that. Okay, so don't try to move the decimal point or whatever. I don't want you to do that. Okay, so because you are going to most likely make a mistake there. Okay, so I want you to stick with this one, and on the exam, I want to see this. Okay, so that way I see that you actually know how to do that conversion. Okay, so I want you to be able to set up this type of calculation so that way I can see that you cancel the unit out. Okay, so that way I see that how you get the final answer with your process, the correct process, right, that I'm looking for. So in this case, what you can do is you are going to start with what's given. So 2.345 kilometer is what's given. So the next one is you can go to kilometer, right, to the meter. and then meter to centimeter, right? So in this case, we already learned about this prefix. So therefore, in this case, you can do that, the conversion that we know, right? So 1,000 meter equal to 1 kilometer, because kilometer is bigger than meter. So you need 1,000 of the meter. Centimeter is smaller than meter. So you need 100 of this for one of this. So if you do this correctly, your answer gonna come out to be 2.345 times 10 to the 5th centimeter. Makes sense, right? Because you're going from a big unit. Therefore, the answer of the smaller unit, which is the centi, right, is going to be larger, a lot larger than this number right here. But these two are going to represent the same value. Now you might ask me, hey, Ami, well, since we are given kilometer to 5 centimeter, can I actually use this table right here to 5 centimeter? Well, let's take a look at it together, right? So in this case, yep, so it's give us kilometer, but this kilometer go to mile. So that means in first step, I need to go to mile first. Is there anything else do I know going from mile to centimeter or mile to meter? Well, it doesn't give me that, right? So I don't know that. So therefore, in this case, I can't go to centimeter through mile. So that's why I can't use this table for this problem. All right, next example. Okay, so this example right here is giving us about the speed of a car. It asks us to convert that speed into a different unit, right? So how do you know that it's the speed of a car? Well, because it tells us about length and time, right? So this one is mile per hour. So this is not meter. So this is a little bit confusing here. So just do this. Let's change this to mile per hour. Okay, so what I would like you to do, okay, so whenever that you see the slash here, this is really important. Please make sure that you convert this into fractional form. Remember, the work that I will ask you to show me need to always be in the fractional form. So therefore, in this case, always write this out in a fractional form. Okay, so make sure that you write this out in a fractional form. So for example, that's 65 miles per hour, right? So mile slash hour is can be written as 65 mile over 1 hour. So this is the fractional form. Same thing as well with the kilometer per second here. So kilometer mean kilometer, right? Per second mean per 1 second. So second would be on the bottom. So that means whenever that you have to deal with the unit conversion, you need to make sure that you need to end up with the right unit, right? So in this case, you probably notice that you are going from mile per hour to kilometer per second. So that means on top, right, eventually it have to be kilometer. On the bottom, at the end, have to be second, right? So that's what we are looking for. So whatever that you set up, if kilometer is not end up on top, you have to flip those. If the kilometer already on top, that's good, right? So vice versa, is a second not on the bottom, you then have to flip your set up, right, in order to make second to be on the bottom. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, set this up 65 mile per 1 hour. You can convert either length first or time first, it doesn't matter. So remember, we know that this is length, right? This is also length. So that means you are going to go from mile, somehow reach to kilometer. So mile is English unit, kilometer is the metric unit. So therefore, in this case, we can use this table right here, right? So it already tells you right here, right? So kilometer and mile. Okay, so therefore, in this case, I'm going to go ahead, convert from mile to kilometer. So we know that it's 1.61 kilometer equal to 1 mile. Perfect, right? So unit cancel out. Oh, good, because this is what I want. I want kilometer to be on top. That's perfect. If I stop here, your final answer would be kilometer per hour. We don't want that. We want per second. So therefore, there are works that still need to be done right here. So the next one is hour right now is on the bottom. If you set up hour on the bottom also, those two are not going to be able to cancel each other out. So therefore, hour need to be on top, right? So in order to be able to cancel this, right? So you have hour divided by hour. So they are going to cancel each other out. Hour to second, if you know conversion factor for that, go ahead, right? If you don't know, well, let's do one that we know, right? So I know hour to minute, so let's do 2 minutes. Okay, so we know that 60 minutes equal to 1 hour. Now, next thing is, I don't want to know minutes, right? I want seconds. So the next step would be convert from minute to second. So again, the reason why I put minute on top here is because I want to cancel this minute right here. Okay, so I'm going to cancel this minute now. So we know that there are 60 seconds in 1 minute, right? So, hey, this is exactly what I want, right? So I want the second on the bottom, that's perfect. Everything else cancel. The only units that left would be kilometer and second. So that's perfect, right? So that means in this case, our final unit would be kilometer per second. That's exactly what we want. So all you have to do next would be multiply all this number together, all this top number together, divide by this bottom number. Okay, whatever you get, that would be your final answer. The number of sig fig that limit this would be this 65 right here because the least number of sig fig. Okay, so in this case, your final answer would come out to be 0.029 kilometer per second. Next, we are going to take a look at the unit that involved with either square or cubic. Okay, so for example, right, so this one is grams per cubic centimeter. This one is kilograms per cubic meter. So how can we actually convert that? Okay, so let's take a look at this. So you might ask me, hey, why don't I just use the table again? So centimeter, cubic centimeter to cubic meter. Yeah, you can do that, right? So it's through this, right? So it's through this one right here. Okay, so that's one way to do it. There's another way that I want to show you that is also going to be applied to other type of problem as well, in case you are not given information here. Okay, so I'm not going to use this because it's very simple, right? So you're just going to convert between those two using this conversion factor. But what I'm going to do is that I'm going to actually use the prefix multiplier to help us. So that way you can apply to other type problem as well that are not part of the list that is given. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Okay, so again, whenever that you see this slash thing, right, per, right, so this is going to always have to be written in a fractional form. Okay, so always. So that means in this case, you are given 2.0 grams per 1 cubic centimeter. Again, you have to set up this way. If not, you will get so confused. You don't know which one you need to cancel, which one need to be on top, which one need to be on the bottom. Do not do that. Okay, so this is the most important part. Okay, so students who do well on the first exam is going to be determined by this, right? So those students who did not set up fractional form, they are most likely to fail the first exam. Okay, so just from my statistic that I see over and over again for the past years that I teach. So for this problem, our final unit need to be in kilograms per cubic meter. Okay, so that's what we need. So that means I'm going to go ahead and set up this. So 2.0 grams over 1 cubic centimeter. You have mass, right? Grams, kilograms, they are mass. And you have volume, right? So cubic centimeter versus cubic meter, those are volume. Mass over volume would be density, right? So this is described the density. So you have two units. It doesn't matter which one you do first. It doesn't matter at all. So you can start with mass first or volume first, doesn't matter. So I'm just gonna go with mass because easier, because it doesn't have the cube part of it. So grams to kilograms, kilograms would be on top, grams would be on the bottom. So there are 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. So again, recall the prefix multiplier that we learned earlier. Okay, so grams cancel out. You have kilograms on top. That's exactly what we want, right? So that's exactly what we want. Next, what we need to deal with is going to be the volume part, right? Cubic centimeter versus cubic meter. So I'm going to pretty much going from centimeter to meter. So note that I have not dealt with the cubic yet. Okay, so I'm just gonna set up only without a cubic. Okay, so without a cube, we know that 100 centimeter equal to 1 meter. This cube right here indicate that you multiply this conversion factor 3 times, right? Because 3 times length times height times width, that's give you the volume. So that means in this case, if you want to cancel that 1 cubic centimeter, you need to do this 3 times. So times 100 centimeter per 1 meter times 100 centimeter per 1 meter. You have to do that 3 times in order to cancel these 3 centimeter, right? So or cubic centimeter. Now this centimeter cancel out, right? So 3 times. So your final unit would be in meter multiplied by meter multiplied by meter. So that's in up to be cubic meter, right? So that's exactly what we want, right? We want kilograms per cubic meter, right? So that's exactly what we want. Okay, so now all you have to do is multiply the top part together, divide by the bottom number, right? So your final answer would come out to be kilograms per cubic meter. So if you do this correctly, you are going to get 2.0 times 10 to the third kilograms per cubic meter. Note that another way to write this, I'm going to give you another option as well. So because you probably noticed that we multiply 100 3 times, right? You pretty much write this as 100 cube, right? You cube them, you multiply them 3 times. Same thing for centimeter as well. You multiply centimeter 3 times, so it's going to be centimeter cube. You multiply meter 3 times, so it's going to be 1 cube and then meter cube. The takeaway message of this is that when you are cubing the unit, right, you also have to cube the number as well. Same thing as well if you have to deal with square, right? If you square the unit, the number or the conversion factor number that come with that unit have to also be square. Okay, so that's what this takeaway message is. What do I mean by that, right? So for example, if you need to going from, let's say, like cubic meter square, right, to let's say kilometer square, for example, like area, this is described area, right? So what do we do? Well, in this case, what you are going to do is that you are going to have to go through the base unit first, right? So that means centimeter square to meter square first, and then we're going to go to kilometer square. Okay, so let's say the number that here is going to be 5. So that's why it's not confusing. Okay, so what you're going to do is you are going to start with, we are going to go from centimeter to meter. We know that every 100 centimeter equal to 1 meter. But remember, we can't cancel the unit yet because this is in square form. So therefore, you need to make this to be square. If you square the unit, you also need to square the number. So same thing here. Everything has to be square because this is the same conversion, right? So that means if you square 1, you have to square everything within that conversion factor. Okay. So move to the next, right? So in this case, if you cancel this, you already cancel centimeter square. So you have meter square that you need to continue doing. So meter on the bottom, kilometer on top. We know that every 1,000 meter equal to 1 kilometer. But in this case, we need to cancel meter square. So this is only meter. So therefore, you need to square meter. If you square the unit, this unit also have to be square. That number also have to be square. This also have to be square. Everything have to be square within that conversion factor, right? And then you can actually cancel this meter square. So your final unit would be in kilometer square. Next, we are going to take a look at dimensional analysis in like a wordy problem like this. These wording problems seem to be very scary to several students. So I want you to know that when you go in, if you see this type of problem, maybe just like take a deep breath, right? And then just remind yourself that I can do this, right? So everything going to be the same as I mentioned before. You need to find out the number with the units, right? So because those can be used and also some of them might be our conversion factor. So the first number I see is 22.3. Okay, so that's one come with the unit of gallon. Okay, so I'm just gonna circle that. Okay, so whenever that you see that, circle it out or write it out, right? So now I'm going to write out 22.3 gallons, so GAL. Remember, G only means grams, GAL means gallon. Make sure you know the difference. Okay, so the second number that I see is this 0.8206 grams per milliliter, right? So that's the second number. So I did not even read the problem, right? So I just try to extract the information first because sometimes when you try to read the whole problem, it's very confusing, and that's when you will have some sort of anxiety attack, right? So what I would like you to do is just try to find out the given information first, okay? So before you try to confuse yourself. So I'm going to write this out. Okay, so this is 0.8206 gram per milliliter. Oh, I remember Ami tell me when I see per like this, I need to write as fractional form. So I'm going to go ahead, write this as fractional form. Okay, so 0.8206 grams over 1 milliliter. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep that in mind. Maybe I use it, maybe I don't have to use it. The next thing is it's giving us that number right there, right? So it's the liter in a gallon. Oh, it's 2 units, right? It's contain liter and gallon. Both of them describe volume. So in this case, oh, I can write this in a fractional form as well. So it's going to be 3.785 liter in 1 gallon. All right, so these are information that I have. I might need to use other information from this list as well. I don't know, right? So that's so far this is what I have, right? So what do we need to do here? Well, it asks us to, it said that we have a gas tank, right, that contain that many gallon, and then it tell us about the density of a gas, right, and then tell us to determine mass in pound, right, of this many gallon. Okay, so let's go ahead, let's plan it out. Okay, so at the end, we want to know mass, which is in pound. Okay, so this is going to be my plan. We want to know mass, which is pound. Okay, so this is mass, but it has to be in pound. So the next thing you need to look at is this given information right here, which unit that describe pound. Right, so that's what you need to tell yourself or ask yourself first. Gallon, that's volume. Milliliter, that's volume. Liter is also volume. The only thing that is described in mass would be grams. So therefore, in this case, somehow we will need to go to grams because that grams will tell us about mass. Okay. This is going to be the grams that you are going to use. So therefore, in this case, the connection that you see here would be what? Milliliter. So that means the previous step that you are going to take would be going to milliliter, right? Because using this given unit that is that is the puzzle of this, right? Milliliter seem to be similar to liter here, right? So the only difference would be the prefix, right? The base unit are the same. So that means I can go to liter. This liter going to connect it to gallon. Perfect, because the another number that we have here is the gallon also, right? So that means in this case, I'm going to go to gallon. So I'm going to start with gallon. Note that your final answer right here, which is in pound, which is described mass, have to be on top of the equation that you set. Okay, so at the end, pound have to be on top. If pound end up to be on the bottom, that means you are going to get inverse answer. That means you are going to have to flip everything, right? You have to flip everything together in order to achieve pound have to be on top. Okay, so I'm going to start with the gallon that we have here, followed by I'm going to get rid of gallon. So that means the conversion I'm going to use would be this one right here because we want to go to liter. So it would be 1 gallon to 3.785 liter, right? And then liter to between this liter to milliliter, I can't do it yet unless I go through the unit, the same unit, right? So that means I have to convert from liter to milliliter first. We know that every 1,000 milliliter equal to 1 liter, according to the prefix, right? And then from milliliter to grams, you are going to use this conversion right here, right? So every 1 milliliter equal to 0.8206 grams. And then grams per pound, the problem doesn't give you grams per pound, but it's between metrics and the English. So therefore, I'm going to use this table right here. Grams to pound is giving us right here. So therefore, I'm going to go back. So every 453.59 grams equal to 1 pound. Okay, so if you set this up correctly, you are going to get 153 pounds. Okay, so your final answer going to be limited by this least number of sig figs right here, which is only 3 sig figs. Now, you might ask me, hey, what about if I don't know how to plan it out, like what you did there, what should I do? Well, you need to know what we are looking for, right? So we are looking for mass in pounds. So therefore, in this case, you know that mass in pound have to be on top. So you can go ahead, set it up as well in such a way that pound have to be on top, right? So pound have to be on top here. And you probably notice that the connection between pound is going to be the grams because the only information we have here is the grams here, right? So that means somehow you need to use these grams. So therefore, in this case, whatever you do with pound, it needs to come with the grams. So therefore, in this case, I can do the grams on the bottom. If you go back to this list of the conversion factor right here, you can use that, right? So 453.59 grams equal to 1 pound. And then because we want pounds, so therefore we do not want to cancel this. This thing have to stay the same. the thing that we need to cancel is the grams. So in this case, you are going to use the given grams that is given, right? So which is 0.8206 grams right here per 1 milliliter. So you can use that, right? So that way grams cancel out. And then you can go from there, right? So if you stop right here, you get pound per milliliter. That's not what we want. We want just the pound. So therefore, you still need to continue to the next process, to the next step, right? So in this case, we have liter, we have milliliter here. So if I use liter per gallon right away, in this case, you probably notice that I can't cancel anything, right? I cannot cancel milliliter, I cannot cancel liter. So therefore, in this case, I'm going to have to incorporate milliliter as well. So I'm going to do 1,000 milliliter equal to 1 liter. So in this case, I'm going to cancel this, milliliter and milliliter, liter cancel out. So I have gallon left. So therefore, the last step would be you incorporate the last given information, which is 22.3 gallon. Now you may ask me, hey, that 22.3 gallon, do I need to put anything on the bottom? The answer is you don't have to, because this number right here come with just 1 unit. Therefore, do not put any other unit on the bottom. So you just multiply by that. Or if it's confusing to you, you can also put a placeholder 1 on the bottom as well to tell you that if you write this in a fractional form, it literally means that it's divided by 1, because anything divided by 1 equal to itself, right? So you can just divide by 1. If you do this calculation all together, you are going to get the same identical answer as what I showed you previously, which is 153 pounds. All right, the last wordy problem that I would like to go over is going to be when you have to deal with the unit that describe the same thing. Okay, so for example, in this case, mass, right? So we're gonna take a look at milligrams, kilograms, right? And pounds as well. So how do we differentiate? Now let's take a look at this example together. So I'm going to go ahead, circle this. Okay, so 85 milligrams. Remember, it have to be reported in fractional form. Okay, so over 1.2 milliliter. So we have mass over volume. The next one is giving us 15 milligrams per kilograms, 15 milligrams per 1 kilograms. You probably notice that these two describe mass the same. How come that they are in a different, why would that be the conversion factor? Well, because this is the recommendation dose, right? Is the kilograms of the body weight. So that means in this case, you probably have to write out what each of these belong to. So in this case, the milligram is going to be the milligram of the dose or of the medicine, right? So it would be milligrams of suspension. And then kilogram is tell us that it's the body weight. So that means we probably have to go back to the previous number as well. So it seems like this 85 milligram is of the suspension. And the volume is also going to be the volume of the suspension as well. And the last number is giving us is the 18 pound. Oh, this 18 pound right here is of the infant weight. So therefore, this is going to be belong to the body weight. So that means in this case, the milligrams and the kilogram that you see here, they are not going to be the same because they are of different things. And so this one is off suspension, this kilogram is off body weight. So therefore, in this case, when you are doing the calculation, when you plan it out, right? So you are going to make sure that, so it's asking you to find out the volume. Okay, so we ask us to find out the volume. So therefore, in this case, your volume at the end, the milliliter right here have to be on top. Okay, so if you're not sure which one should be on top, right, you can look at this, right? So in this case, oh, this one right here contain milliliter. So go ahead, put that on top. But you might ask me, hey, right now it's on the bottom. So what do I do in order to make it on top? Note that all the conversion factor that contain 2 units, you can always flip this, right? So 8.5 milligram suspension per 1.2 milliliter is the same as, if you write as every 1.2 milliliter is equal to 85 milligrams of the suspension. So it's the same thing. You can flip that. You have to flip the whole thing though. You have to flip both unit and also number as well. So now the unit of milliliter is on top already. Perfect. I don't have to do anything else with the milliliter, but I have to deal with milligrams though. Is there any things that involve with milligrams of suspension? Oh, it's this one right here, right? So what I have to do is that I'm going to multiply this by 15 milligrams of the suspension because I need to cancel that. and the bottom would be 1 kilograms of the body weight. Okay, so now that milligrams cancel out. Okay, so the next thing, how do we go from kilograms to pound, right? So it doesn't give us anything else. So this is when you need to recognize that it's giving you the English unit and also the what do you call it, the metric unit. So therefore you need to use the table that we have here. You can go ahead, go from kilograms to grams, gram to pound, or you can just use the kilograms to pound conversion right away. Either way, it should be the same. Okay, so I'm going to use kilograms to pound, which is every 1 kilogram equal to 2.2046 pound. Every 1 kilograms equal to 2.2046, right? So 2.2046 pound. Okay, and kilograms would cancel out. You have pound left. Remember, this is kilogram, which is the mass of the body weight. So therefore, this pound right here is going to be the mass of the body weight also. So that means the last thing you need to do is you need to get rid of this pound, right? Because if you don't, it's going to be milliliter, right, per pound. That is not what we want. We want just the milliliter. Okay, so in this case, you need to do one more step here. You are going to multiply this by the 18 pound that is given. Again, you can just put 1 down here. The reason for that is because these 18 pound right here come with just 1 unit. So therefore, you don't actually need to put anything down. You can just omit that over 1. Okay, so I can omit it. You can just do that. That's fine too. Okay, all you have to do is that you are going to multiply this number together and divide by this number. Okay, so if you do it correctly, you are going to get 1.7 milliliter. Know that your final answer would contain 2 sig fig because this contains 2 sig fig, right? So this is also 2 sig fig. So 2 sig fig would be the least number of sig fig. Right? So this is also 2 sig fig, also 2 sig fig. And the 1 in front of kilograms here or 1 here, those are going to be the exact number, right? So because if you think about this, right, it's per 1 kilogram, that's 1 is the exact number. All right, you will not be able to do this type problem on exam without practice. So I'm going to let you do the DIY problem number 1 to 7 yourself. Okay, so after you finish, make sure that you check your answer against the key. Okay, so my recommendation is for you to do it first before you even check your answer or work against the key. Okay, because sometimes if you look at the key right away, you will feel like, oh, that's easy, right? But then when you encounter this type of problem on the exam, you might not be able to do it. Okay, so just make sure you do it first before you check your answer against the key. The last part of the unit conversion is the temperature unit conversion. Okay, so for this one, this unit conversion right here will be given to you. You just need to know how to use it. So what is this unit conversion coming from? Okay, so I'm just gonna walk you through real quick. You don't need to memorize this, but you just need to know how to use it. So between degrees Celsius and degree Fahrenheit, right? So if I compare between these two, okay, so these two, where the water freeze, okay, so for water is at 0 degrees Celsius, but in Fahrenheit is at 32. So that means the difference between degree Celsius and degree Fahrenheit would be 32, right? So that therefore in this case, you need to subtract degree Fahrenheit by 32. 32 is come from that. And the increment of the these 2 units, right? So 1, which is the Fahrenheit, right, is increased by 180 degree interval, versus for Celsius, right, is going to increase by the 100 degree interval. So because degrees Fahrenheit is 1.8 times higher than degree Celsius, so therefore you are going to divide that by 1.8, right? So that's what it's coming from. Now, if you're looking at degree Celsius versus Kelvin, right? So at freezing point right here, right? So 0 and 273.15, you will see the difference is by 273.15, right? So therefore you are going to add the degree Celsius by that number to make it the same as Kelvin. You do not need to divide by anything because they both have the same degree interval, right? So therefore you don't need to divide by anything at all. If you would divide, it would be divided by 1, right? All right, so I'm going to use this and then walk you through how to use the equation. So pretty much you are going to, let's say, if you're going from degree Celsius to degree Fahrenheit. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use the equation that will be given on the exam. Okay, so I'm going to, because we want degree Fahrenheit, so I'm going to move everything, right, all those numbers to be on the other side, which is with the degree Celsius, so that the degree Fahrenheit would be just by itself. Okay, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 1.8, and then I'm going to move 32 to the other side, right? Negative 32 to the other side. So therefore, in this case, we know that degree Fahrenheit would equal to 1.8 times degree Celsius plus 32. So we are given degree Celsius, so you just plug that in. So your degree Fahrenheit would come out to be negative 106.6 degree Fahrenheit. Now, what about Kelvin? Okay, so you just need to add degree Celsius to 273, right? So that would be your Kelvin. So the conversion of the temperature is pretty straightforward, right? You just need to use the given equation. So I'm going to let you do this problem on your own. Okay, so pause the video and finish it, and then check your answer against the key that goes on Moodle. So here's everything that we learned in this chapter video, right? We learned about dimensional analysis. We learned about the conversion of the temperature units, right? So those are the two. So note that the dimensional analysis that you see, right? So it's going to be either convert between prefix to the base unit or to another prefix, right? Or conversion from the metric unit to English unit, vice versa, right? So you have to deal with those on the exam, okay? So the skill from this chapter is very crucial because you have to carry this with you throughout the whole term and also with you to the next chemistry level as well. Okay, so if you are struggle with this conversion of the unit, you are going to most likely to not do well on the exam. Okay, so and also throughout the term as well. So if you happen to not be able to do homework, or if you struggle with any of those DIY problem, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Okay, so this is very crucial. This is going to be the start of your term, right? If you do this well, the next section is going to be relatively easy for you because it's going to involve with the unit conversion throughout.